And now we're going to turn our attention, and all of you pay close attention to this next presenter, because I have, for ever since 1993, when I saw her in action at the NRC's conference in Milwaukee. And one thing I can say about Abrilla Robinson, she reinvents herself on a regular, almost daily basis. She does it so much, I told her she needs to put in one of those microchips so I'll know where she's at and what she's doing. But the other thing that I really respect about Abrilla, she's truthful, straightforward, and she speaks from her heart. So now I would like to introduce Abrilla Robinson. Abrilla, you're on.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abrilla Robinson, and I want to talk today about changing careers and finding a new pathway in difficult times to environmental leadership. This is my story of how I actually ended up in the environmental industry. And I am a baby boomer, so I'm a 50s baby. And I hail from Harlan Park, Michigan, born and raised. And my journey to the environment actually started with my mother. Um, we did a lot of environmental things in our home that we didn't call recycling, reusing. They were just part of the way we lived. I can hear my mother today saying, after going shopping, don't throw that away because we can do something else with it. Many of you live in homes, African American homes, where these kind of practices have always been part of our culture. Before plastics, we had brown paper bags for carrying our groceries. And I remember we didn't throw them away, we reused them. Clothing, same thing, because kids grow out of clothes every year. So we didn't throw them away. We donated them. We gave them to the Goodwill. We exchanged them with friends. Cooking oil. Now, in our community, cooking oil was one of those things that was reused time and time again. Leftovers, canned food, soap. We even did composting back in the day because I don't remember anybody in our neighborhood having an electric lawnmower. Everybody did the push, clip, and whatever. So we lived in Michigan where we had a lot of trees that shed leaves every year. So the leaves were used as composting in the backyard for my mother's flowers. And the grass clippings were just composted right back into the grass, which fertilized it and made it so much better. So my road to the environmental industry started very young. I also did paper drives where I went to school at. One of our fundraisers were paper drives. So every year I asked my neighbors on my block to save their papers so that we could contribute to our school's funds for the things that we wanted to do. So that actually started my career. But as usual, things happen. I lived in an automobile town, Ford, GM, and Chrysler. And so I went to work for General Motors. Actually, it was to begin with. I worked at headquarters. I worked down there with John DeLorean, if any of you may remember. But as usual, people think because the pandemic has come that we haven't had crisis in America before. We have. And I came through at the time of the energy crisis in 1973, when Saudi Arabia proclaimed an oil embargo and gas went up, inflation was up, interest rates were up. It was just a time of uncertainty. I remember when our president actually came on and asked every resident to lower their thermostat to 68 degrees in order for America to save money through energy because the embargo was here. I also remember when GM, Ford, and Chrysler uh, developed what's known as the K car because gas was so expensive at the time. People were looking for ways to cut costs. And I came through at the time when GM, Ford, and Chrysler loved gas guzzler. The bigger the car, the better. The more gas it took up. It didn't make any difference. Well, when the oil embargo came, it changed everything. So anyway, everyone wanted to go to these particular compact cars. So that's when things actually started to change. So we were in kind of like a 10-year recession because of the energy crisis. And at that particular time, I was working downtown for GM in its new headquarters now, which is the Renaissance Center. But my company actually happened to go there first, which was we went from United Service Motors to United Delco. From United Delco, we merged to AC Delco. And from AC Delco, we merged to GMPD Warehouse Split, Michigan, which was the snow belt. And also at that particular time, interest rates and mortgage rates were like in the 20s, 20%. So it was an opportunity for me to say to myself, do I want to stay on this ship or do I want to do something different? And at that time, I was close to 40 years old and deciding what else is there for me to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? How do I see my life? And what I knew was I didn't want to be in a corporate situation sitting behind the desk for the next 30 years. So off I go to Durham, North Carolina. In the 1980s, our government was actually, again, giving grants to municipalities for recycling. Recycling was starting to actually peak its head, and municipalities were offered money in order to start recycling programs in the community. That's my introduction. I applied for the job to become the first recycling coordinator for the city of Durham. And it was my job to get 3,000 people to recycle newspaper, glass bottles, and aluminum cans, and to change their behaviors because everyone in the South at that time deposited their trash behind their home, and someone came by, picked it up, took it to the curb, dumped it, and brought the container back. Well, in the recycling industry, that was too labor intense. So we needed to teach people that recycling had value and purpose. And so we gave them a specialized bin to put their things in. And then we requested that they bring their recyclables to the curb because we didn't need them mixing with the trash. So it was a whole new mindset. We actually got 3,000 households up doing a biweekly program, setting their recyclables at the curb between 80 to 92%, which was kind of unheard of. But the key was it was my job to educate people in our community and to find volunteers that would help us spread the word because, you need people to replicate what it is that you're doing. So I basically went out and recruited at the end of the program over 800 people who actually went out and taught the community um, the value of recycling, what it did in terms of our landfill, because most people at that particular time didn't know what a landfill was, didn't know where trash went. It was like you put it outside the back of your door and it gets, it disappears. Where it goes, people don't care. Well, we had to create a whole new mindset. And that's exactly where I fit in. And that's how I was introduced to recycling. I became the first recycling coordinator. From there, I actually became the first, uh, mm, I became the first executive director of the organization that I was the recycling coordinator. That was SunShares. That was part of the Durham program. We were a not-for-profit organization, and we taught sustainability. The From there, I was also on the board of directors of the National Recycling Coalition. From there, we started a minority council within the NRC, which we are starting to actually uh, recruit other members to be part of that because we need inclusion. I'm here today because so many people think that we're not part of the industry. We are. We've been part of the industry from the time it started because we have been doing those particular kind of things all our lives. It's just that now it has value and it creates jobs. And so what I'm here to say to you today is these jobs that are going to be available are all over America. There are thousands of ways to participate in the environmental industry. And a lot of times, as we come along through life, we never know about these opportunities. And I'm talking directly right now to you, Tia, founder of Fresh Blooms Bins in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, Tina Johnson, founder and CEO, and your staff members, Brandon Lewis, um, Mar- Mariko Johnson, Giorgio Fagan, and Corey Simpson. This is an industry that is wide open. The pandemic changed all of our lives. And a lot of times it takes things to happen to push us in different directions. For me, it was the energy crisis. Hopefully for you today, the information that speakers are going to share with you enlighten you and inspire you to see yourselves long term in an industry that actually where you can see the difference that you've made. I live in Smithfield, North Carolina now, which is about 30 minutes from Durham. We don't have uh, a weekly recycling program here in Smithfield, North Carolina. No one ever actually really came. We have drop-off centers, but we don't necessarily have weekly recycling. But every time I go to Durham and I see a little blue bin, because I see them now, because most of the bins have changed to the large containers, I realize that we made a difference. We made a difference. You have the ability to make a difference. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to Jeff Bezos' new creation or the outer planets. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to work to save this planet, to make changes here, things that people can do every day that are simple. But the key thing is we need to create jobs in our community. And Tia, that's one of the things that you're doing. And I'm hoping that this academy inspires the people that you have working for you to do the same thing, to work with you as team members, to be captains in the community, to tell people about what you do, why you do it, and how it can change lives. Because the key is we all want to live on this earth, be happy, sustain it, create good economic jobs that carry us through, that educate our children, that send them to college, that allow them to buy home, to create legacy, to create legacy. And this is one of Arlie's favorite things that he continues to tell me. It's like, Abrilla, most people don't know who we are or what we've done, or that we've been part of this community for like 25, 30 years. Well, I'm here to tell you that you are the start of where we want to go, that you have the ability to really make sincere change. If we want to see America change, it's going to be in your generation, you millennials, okay, you X generation, you Y generation, you children are the ones who are going to make the change. You know, we brought the rain so far. Now we want you to pick it up and we want you to roll with it. We want you to go out. We want you to make change. And we want you to command change, because a lot of people don't think climate change is real, really. You know, I live 3 blocks from the Neuse River. Since I've been in Smithville, North Carolina, I have been flooded out 3 times in 10 years. 3 times. The river has come to my door. So I realized that we need to make change, but it has to be collectively. So today, I'm hoping that this is the beginning. I hope to see you guys, you know, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise in the next 15, 20 years at the top of the leadership, you know, directing, co-directing, educating, and pulling our community and our nation in a new way. You know, we're supposed to be the leaders of the world. So we need to step to the plate and make change. So those are my words that I wanted to encourage you and let you know that we're here for you. My number, even though I didn't put up a slide, my number is 919-464-7240. My name is Abrilla Robinson. At any time or any place you need to contact me, please do. We will try to help you wherever it is that you are. If you're a not-for-profit, if you need finance, as Arlie said, we need to work with the EPA to find out how that funding can come into our community and create jobs. So on that, I'm going to say my farewell and thank you all for coming and participating today and being part of the industry that I fell in love with, the environmental industry. So thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot, Abrilla. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to present today. I would take heed of Abrilla's sage advice, because I listened to her. Jim Rice, who was an ex football player for the New York Giants, he actually was known as the father of composting in New York way back in the day. But when I listened to her then, that was in '93. Abrilla and I have been communicating. We're like an extended family. That includes Emotion.
Sure.
Caroline's on the line too, Bob and others. That when you get involved with the National Recycling Coalition and your local affiliate, ours here is the Ohio Recycling Coalition and the Association of Ohio Recyclers, which is an outstanding organization, great people there, great leadership. And here's what happens. You begin to learn what you didn't know. And then you take that information and you pass it on to people that need to know. And the next thing you know, you have a movement. You have people chiming in and getting in on the ground floor. I can tell you this, I've watched this industry grow. I've seen people become millionaires. I've seen people take time out for the environment and each other. And we're going to be hearing that in just a minute from Louise and Alicia, because that's exactly what they're doing. So with that, in order to keep us on schedule, Abrilla, you need to invite me down for another one of your great dinners. And I'll tell you, Abrilla, you can. Abrilla calls me sometimes at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I will call her back at 2 because I don't go to bed till 4 a.m. And she's right there. Hey, Arlie.
Arlie, can I say one last little thing?
Go right ahead.
We have a guest. His name is Tyree Anderson. He actually also has a bin cleaning business in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I invited him today because I wanted him to actually meet Tia Johnson, because you two are doing the same business. So I think you have something in common that you could share with one another. So again, Tyree, get back in touch with me, DM me your information, and I'm going to send it to Tia Johnson, and you two can talk about what you share in common. So that's it, Arlie. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.